Olá a todos, tudo bem? Eu tenho a satisfação aqui de estar conversando com o senhor Thierry Krier, que é o CEO global da Kuhn. A gente vai fazer essa entrevista em inglês. Mr. Thierry, I'm glad for receiving you on our website, and I would like to have some questions, some information regarding Kuhn. What's the main purpose for your visit here in Brazil? Is there any specific initiatives or strategic partnership being discussed here?
It's a very good question. First off, it's by far not my first visit. I've been coming here regularly for the last 11 years, I believe, generally twice a year. And we try to combine those visits with customer visits or with shows. So, this is being recorded as we are attending with my colleagues the Safra show. It's a first for me. I understand it's a fast and developing show for sure. But as you mentioned, I think most of this conversation will be about strategy. The market, the expectations, and our own company view on all of this. We were, I believe, as far as a non-Brazilian manufacturers, the first to really assess Brazil as a strategic market for the long term. So for over 30 years, we've been involved in Brazil, visiting regularly, and really the first milestone for us was the purchase of Metassa, our first company way back in 2005. And then we followed through with later on the acquisition of Montana and then more recently Cor. So it is strategic. Brazil has a fantastic opportunity to feed the world. I believe that currently Brazil feeds about 8 people, 8 times its production in the world. So 1 out of 8 people in the world is fed with commodities produced in Brazil. That is a fantastic challenge, which has been picked up by Brazil as a nation and the Brazilian producers. But it shows also the potential. It has increased tremendously, as you know, much better than me in the last 10, 20 years, and it continues to grow. So we identified this very early. We are here. We have a full assortment of products today for both the crop side of the business, but also the livestock side. We may look at more, but at the moment, we think that the portfolio we have is very complete, and it's more into developing what we have versus looking at additional products to add to the Kuhn portfolio. Between what we produce locally, what we bring in from Europe, and the technology that we are gradually tropicalizing, if I can use this funny word, for the Brazilian conditions, we have a plate full for the next certainly 10 years. So in summary, really a strategic market, a very early outlook from Kuhn, and then multiple steps to grow our presence.
Okay, but is there any specific partnership or plan to expand the Kuhn presence in Brazil? You are managing, you are discussing currently?
No, not with third parties. Quite frankly, we have done quite a bit. I mentioned 3 acquisitions, so we are broadening the portfolio, but based on what we already have. Our growth has been really fast, has been quite good, quite frankly. Now it's a question of developing further the market shares, some of the specifications of the products, but within the families of products we already have. And in addition, with that, developing a dealer network. So what really is quite fascinating for me, for us, is that we are finding some very good partners in distribution, independent dealers, distributors, who are willing to invest with us. So they also see the potential of Brazil. They see the reputation and the size of Kuhn, the potential to do more, and they are investing in distribution. And we ourselves are investing into helping them be more successful. Training, distribution centers, presence in the field, marketing. That's the next step. We have some very good bases with the factories we have, with 2 distribution centers in the north, fully staffed with people, with parts, to make the dealers successful. That's the next step. But it's trending quite well.
Okay. What can you say regarding Kuhn's identity or and focus here in Brazil? There you have you specific focus here? Maybe medium farmers, small producers. What can you say regarding that? All of them.
I would say it's all of the above. It's not different from a broad strategic focus from what we do elsewhere in the world. The
Hmm.
products are a bit different, of course. The farming structure is a little bit different, which is of course new for us. I mean, a lot more direct drilling, planting, of course, in other areas in the world. Some of the mega farms, but Brazil has everything.
Hmm.
It's still quite diversified in terms of production, in terms of size of farming. There is some consolidation, of course, like we see elsewhere, but the basic fundamentals are very similar to what we do in Europe or in North America or in Asia, Australia. It's about the same dynamic. Our business is very well leveraged. We do about 50% of our business globally with crop production, 50% with hay and forage and livestock, which helped us go through cycles quite well because not all of those markets have the same dynamics. And we
Hmm.
know that it obviously is agriculture, so it's very cyclical for plenty of reasons, weather being one.
Hmm.
In Brazil, our focus is more on crop production, just because the crop production market is far larger. But we do it all: small, medium, large, extra large
Hmm.
farms. We have the products, we have the portfolio. I would not being completely honest with you by telling you that the focus is more on the large, extra large, or XXL type farmers, because we do not come from there in Brazil.
Hmm.
So our companies, what we acquired was more focused on the medium large, which we cover quite well. And of course, with the evolution of farming and our own ambition and appetite, we are now looking at the higher categories, which means self-propelled sprayers, which means self-propelled spreaders, where we have some unique technology, larger planters, larger drills, seeders. But it's happening. It's just the normal evolution of any company that started in that mid-large segment to obviously aim for greater things.
Great.
And it's happening. It's happening.
Okay, which is the current market share of Brazil in Kuhn business?
It's about 10% of our global business.
Okay, and you have to plans to expand from Brazil?
Yes, for sure, for sure. It's it was not 5%. It was just a few percent. Even 15 years ago. So it has grown very nicely. We reached, I think a year or two ago was a high cycle. We
Hmm.
probably were in the 15% range. Now it's down to 10. It will grow again, but it's fairly well leveraged. We look at the overall potential of each area or each country, each region, versus the world in its entirety. And with Kuhn being such a diversified global player, I mean we sell in 100 countries on a regular basis, and we produce over 60,000 machines per year. So Brazil has already the share that it deserves within our portfolio and within our strategic focus at about 10%. But with the cycle growing, with our initiatives for new technology and product development going more into the XXL type farming, the going back to a 15% share would be very logical. Would be very logical.
Great. In how much time you need for 15% of market share?
15, 1 5, not 50.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no,
Oh,
15.
we just need a higher cycle, and it's going to happen in the 5 years, I would say probably.
5 years. Okay, great.
Yeah,
And
within 5 years.
Mr. Thierry, the European Green Deal is a big discussion here in Brazil. What do you think regarding the European Green Deal and how Kuhn can support Brazilian farmers on achieving these standards of production?
Well, the Green Deal is on hold at the moment. It was an agenda that was very much pushed, during the previous presidency in Europe. I believe that there were some very good pieces in that overall Green Deal approach. Some others would be a lot more critical. I think that what is happening is quite healthy. Actually, there is more debate than we had within Europe about the farming side of the Green Deal. It's much more realistic. It's much more pragmatic, and you probably know that farmers have reacted quite strongly towards some of those measures, and we are now looking at probably a good compromise going forward. So one has to look at the components of the Green Deal from 5 years ago to what it is currently, to what it will be during the next presidency, because we have elections in Europe coming up again, and I think the needle will move more towards pro farming and less pure ecology type measures. So what it means for Europe in terms of the components of the Green Deal, there are some that I think make a lot of sense. Reducing some of the carbon emissions, better capturing carbon in the soil, some better livestock management policies, some more smart ways of subsidizing farming, such as some new technologies, precision farming, advanced spraying, advanced fertilizing, things that have a direct impact on the environment, but also a positive impact on the farmers and their operations. Those things make a lot of sense for me, for sure. There was another one that I can probably mention, which was a very strong mandated focus to produce more organic food. And that is backfiring. It's very good, of course, but to try to go, which was the intent at the time, towards 25% of organic, that's number one, impossible, and the consumers are not willing to pay for it. So there is a market for that, but forcing it through political mandates and laws and measures and regulations, I don't think it's a way to go, and that is certainly has moved out of the equation. So we will see new policies. I'm quite involved in that. I was president of the European Association for Manufacturers for 4 years. That stopped last November. I'm still involved in the association today. So there was a lot of lobbying, a lot of policy making, a lot of conversations with farmers on all this. And I think today everybody is somewhat united towards a better way of addressing the Green Deal. It will be there. It's important, but the components have to be, for some of them, dialed up, and for others dialed down.
Okay.
And it will make sense. I must say, however, which is really not an agricultural type impact, not at least not directly, that we have now, unfortunately, in Europe, a lot more other concerns that are coming up, geopolitical, the war in Ukraine, some of the policies of the US administration with tariffs, the defense in Europe and defense spending. All of those things are coming into play. And they will probably have an impact also indirectly on farming, because we have to fund some of that.
Yeah.
And for many, many years, the European Union has been really a point of focus on farming. It was created actually based on agriculture at the very beginning. It was the number one item in the budget. Today, it's number three. And that part has been reduced proportionally over the years because the lack of funding, obviously. So it's not necessarily a good thing for agriculture overall to see reduced budgets. But I think if we look at the positives, it's a good way of looking at what should be the priorities within that budget and to have it flagged properly. And at least from a farmers and from a farm machinery standpoint, we are quite well aligned, which is, yes, subsidies are important, but let's invest in new technology. Let's invest in what makes farming better, more efficient, more sustainable, and that will be okay. But let's not focus that money on things that nobody wants and nobody needs.
Yeah, this ideas brings me to the other important topic here is, and there in Europe as well, the agreement between Europe and Mercosur. What's your share with us your thoughts about that? Because there are support there in Europe, but there are lots of farmers disgusting this idea.
Yes, it's it's a difficult subject to actually assess in my mind.
Mm.
Personally, I believe that it's a good thing.
Hmm.
Okay, and even a good thing for Europe.
Hmm.
So I do not see any real tangible negative impact. Tangible meaning that there's something that's really going to negatively impact in a big way anything, any sector. It's a question of alignment. It will take time, but I don't see that at all as a negative. What I believe your readers or your audience need to understand is that Mercosur, in my mind, has been utilized by the European Farmers Association as a way to mobilize their members on the future of farming. And
Hmm.
Mercosur was just one more item, by far for me not the most important one, to say, let's fight for the future of farming in Europe.
Hmm.
And it's not about Mercosur. It's really about the policies of the European Union. It's about the pressure of some extreme groups on the left side of the political spectrum or on the ecological side of the political spectrum to fund less modern farming, and then to say, well, we can do it a different way. That we are completely opposed. When I say we, meaning the farmers associations, and then definitely the association of manufacturers, to say no. Self-sufficiency in any area in the world is absolutely critical. I mean, we all need to produce our own food and
Yeah.
be as self-supportive as possible. And if we have extra, then it's part of global trade for sure, based on each country's culture, eating habits and middle class development. That's basically how it happens in terms of big blocks
Mhm.
of causes for the development of farming. So Mercosur was maybe the last drop that some farmers saw as a way to demonstrate, but it's not their number one concern by far. Their number one concern is the European policy of funding and supporting farming, through the next decades.
I see.
And things have happened. Um, Personally, I believe that, and I'd be careful making that statement. If there is anything good that came out of of COVID, and there were
Hmm.
not a lot of good things coming out of COVID, and it was a tragic experience for
Yeah.
most people in the areas of the world, is
Hmm.
that the general population in Europe understood that farming was super important. It
Yeah.
was a massive crisis. We didn't see it coming. It put a lot of industries and businesses, on their knees. It stopped a lot of things. But farmers kept on working, kept on producing, and never did we have a shortage of food.
Yeah.
And before that, it was really about what let's make farming more sustainable, or more this, or more organic, more that. And then, people did not necessarily understand the importance of farming and food because it was a given. And it has
Hmm.
been a given for 50, 60 years in Europe.
Hmm.
With COVID, things changed. And I think the policies are now changing towards more of a stronger, more sustainable farming in Europe, but still with an item such as food security being there in the political agenda with a lot of importance. We have less and less farmers in Europe. We are at probably
Oh,
2 or 3% of the voters.
okay.
That's a
So,
big change from 50 years ago.
so you think
Please.
free trade agreement between Europe and Mercosur can motivate farmers to there in Europe to improve, to be better, or the governments to create new policies for to support them?
I mean, the amount of trade between Europe in terms of farm commodities and South America, the Mercosur countries, it's actually quite limited.
Mhm.
So it will not have I think,
Huge
a great
impact.
impact in one way or the other. But I think as citizens of the world, I'm not talking about Kuhn now, but as citizens of the world, anything where we can have more communication, more exchange, and more free trade for me is a better situation than try to fight and put barriers and tariffs and everything else. At the end, there's always never one winner out of this. It's always a question of compromise and hostility. When people talk and when goods and citizens circulate freely, I think we are at the end always better off. And there's no reason for this. What I was saying is that it's not that important, and it came up as probably a way to voice certain opinions and mobilize the farmers, but it's not the big thing on the agenda. The big thing is the future of farming in Europe.
Great.
That's really what matters at the moment.
So thank you a lot, Mr. Thierry. Hope to speak with you again in the future. And please be comfortable to inform us, our audience, when have other releasings, other launchments, other topics from Kuhn. Okay?
Thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity, and you have our contacts here at Kuhn. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Perfect. Thank you. Bye
Bom
bye.
dia.
Bom
Bye
dia.
bye.
Bye bye.